from? I
So
mean,
I graduated, you mean brokerage or like when I moved?
no, like from where you originally from.
Okay, so I graduated high school from Lee Summit. And then I
Okay.
was gone for 20 years because my parents are from Western Kansas and they divorced. So I went back to my dad's side of the family for a long time. And then I'm back up where my mom is now and my brother and my grandma.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think you found your groove. I
Yeah,
think,
I love you.
yeah, yeah, I
I'm
think you found your place.
so happy to be at Southland for sure.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's a good place to start because I think we should all be happy to be at Southland because
that's
you know
right.
what we got the secret sauce, right? We're the right size brokerage. We got the right leadership. I mean, where else can you go that you can talk to you can rub elbows and almost any time talk to a top performing agent with a lot of experience. Where else can you go where we're just as concerned about the new person as we are the $40 million agent, right? Where else can you go that we give away our secrets, right? Because we feel around here that there's enough business to go around for all of us. So I'm grateful that this is where I'm at. So with that being said, good morning, Keller Williams Southland Partners.
Morning.
Um,
Good morning.
so good morning. So I thought one of the first topics we'd talk about this morning is like I posted is like, and maybe you guys did a little bit of homework, or maybe you can just think back in your head. But where did your last 5 deals come from, or your last couple of deals come from? And I'll kind of get started just to kind of to get it off. Is I have 3 of my last 5 deals came from networking. So they came from the networking groups that I'm involved in, right? Um, one of those is a Chamber of Commerce thing. One of those is my Cass County, or actually 2 of those is my Cass County Professionals and Aging group, and another one of those is a nonprofit that I've been on the board of for 5 years, right? So, and then another one is a referral from a past client. So that's kind of where I'm at, and the reason um, I think this is important to me is that if I'm going to spending a lot of money with the Chamber of Commerce, spending a lot of time going there, and I'm not getting any results, maybe that's not the path I should be taking, right? But if I am getting results, then maybe I need to look into that and see how I can get more results from that. I can tell you that I feel like some of my success involved in this is not only like with Raymore, not only am I a member of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm on the board, right? And if I wasn't on the board, I'd be on the welcoming committee. I would be somehow involved on a deeper level than just being a member, right? Because to me, that's why I'm getting some of that business is because I'm highly involved in it, right? So just like Hope Haven of Cass County, I'll just share this one. I was on that board well, I'm still on that board, but for 5 years, our executive director just left to go back to her hometown to take a job at a shelter out there, and I was able to sell her house. So I can just look back at that organization. I'm not on that board to get business, but I've got 3 pieces of business out of it since I've been on it. So it pays me about, if I'm looking at it, it pays me about 10 grand a year to be on that board, right? So, but then I also get to bring value, and that's not why I'm in it. I heard a quote the other day that I'm going to share real quick, if I can remember it right. It was attributed to Ronald Reagan when I heard it. Um, the things we can get more done than is possibly imaginable if we don't care who gets the credit, right? So if we don't care who gets the credit, we can get amazing things done. So I just felt that that's been resonating with me. So, so for me, that's kind of it. I feel like what I've decided to do for my business, for what I think works for Tom, is just a bunch of networking is finally paying off. I don't want to say finally because it's been paying off, but I feel like I had a nice payoff from it last year, and I'm going to get even more of a payoff from it this year. Um, so so looking back on that, how I'm reflecting is, yeah, that I'm going to keep pushing into those things and see how that goes. So, oh, did you just post it, Brandy?
Yeah, in the chat.
Okay, I got to see it, what it really says.
That's what I Googled anyway.
Yeah. So anyway,
There's no
uh,
limit to the amount of good you can do if you don't care who gets the credit.
yes, isn't that awesome? That's really good. That's really good. Um, so, uh, so then the question is to you guys, and yes, I'm going to call some folks out today because I just really want to know. So, um, yeah, so let's roll. Darren Jones, where can you contribute to where your last five pieces of business came from?
Maybe not in order,
Yeah.
but probably four of the last five were referral or repeat. Um, one was just somebody that I've known for a long time. Um, I'm actually looking into now getting back because I've kind of gotten away from um, doing a lot of advertising, paying attention to the internet, stuff like that. So just starting to ramp up, looking into um, doing more of that, maybe getting a couple more deals from spending a little money, which I haven't done really in the last couple of years.
Good. Okay. Marcia, you're on. You're on.
Um, well, to be honest, my year has been slow and a lot of that probably has been because I have not been participating in outside activities, or doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. So it's just recently in the last 4 to 6 weeks, I have been doing the things I'm supposed to do, making the calls and reaching out to people. I am in a couple organizations, but I'm fairly new at them, so they're not paying off in that kind of way as far as getting leads or whatnot. But I've just circled back to my sphere of influence and some people that have been dormant over the winter time are now interested, even though I was feeling like they were like maybe I had lost a couple of clients because they didn't pop up at the first of spring when I was ready for them to show up, and I was getting a little nervous. But over during the focus calls, I have been reaching out to people, and this week alone, I've heard from two people. Thank you, Brandy and Lonnie. I've heard from two people that have not answered my text messages or my calls in months, and they have finally come up to say that they're ready. So I'm just kind of doing the old school things yet. I haven't really networked or done anything like that, like you do, Tom. I There's some things on my mind, and I just started fostering dogs, not for that reason, but maybe something like that will come about. In fact, actually, as I'm speaking, a neighbor commented on my dog rescue, and she's interested in a dog. And I also know that they will be selling their house soon. So as I say that, I haven't had anything. That doesn't mean that I won't. So I'm just it had a slow start for me for this year, but over the last couple of weeks, things are starting to pick up. So
Awesome. So what I heard there is you're diving back into your sphere, making the calls and doing that, which is the thing that
yes.
Tom avoids the most. Tom avoids that. That's why
Me
Tom
too, but
does the
the
networking. So excellent. So Mr. Crable, what are you working? How are you working to get your business, or where did your last couple of deals come from?
Yeah, that's fair. Three of the last five, I was just looking here, were referrals from people in my database. One of them was from a lender, so an allied resource, and the other one was from an open house.
Awesome. So all the activities that we should be doing have led to those deals. So
Well, the problem is, or maybe it's not a problem. I guess the opportunity is probably a better is. I just need to do more. Like Marcia said, the fourth quarter last year was kind of had a lot of personal stuff going on, and so haven't just didn't do as much of those activities. now doing a lot and seeing a lot more of that stuff. My pipeline's probably bigger than it's ever been. But yeah, the last 5 deals, which I wish they would have all 5 been, from last month. I mean, that would have been awesome, but instead they were over last several months. So, but yeah, that's where they came from. Referrals from my database is still probably my top source of business. Open houses, I've done a lot more consistently. This weekend, I've got 4 open houses at 2 different properties. So, it's going to be a busy weekend, and I expect to pick up new business from them. So yeah, it's just doing more of it, Tom. But yeah, those are where my last 5 came.
So would you say, Tim, that that you got that because you were purposeful in doing those activities, or is it just, I guess the other thing, or is it kind of accidental, right?
Yeah, I wish it was accidental. Every now and then I'll get an accidental referral from my database, but that's, when I do, I'm like, oh man, thank goodness, because I wasn't doing a great job with them. But for the most part, the only way I get a referral from my database is if I'm consistently reaching out to them. The most recent referral that I got from my database, they had actually they came to a client appreciation event that we did last summer, which was we stole it from the ALC tour of Arrowhead Stadium. We did the same thing. We just did it as a VIP client experience. And then they also got a Thanksgiving pie at Thanksgiving time, and then they got a Christmas ornament. So those 3 things I feel like were super intentional. So we just stayed top of mind for them. And those are just sort of like personal fun things that we do that we had done for them. And then also just sending them tax information and always like they're on a neighborhood nurture campaign. So they're getting some items of value. And so yeah, that last one was super intentional. The lender referral is 2. I don't get lender referrals from very many lenders, but there's one lender in specifically that he and I play golf a couple times a year from. And then I'll send him like silly golf memes or like lender memes or something, an Instagram reel or something. We stay in touch kind of like on the personal side of business. And then we ran together in a half marathon on Ward Parkway. So like, I feel like, yes, Tom, that one was very intentional because I've just nurtured the relationship. And so I don't think that he would have given me those referrals probably that he's given me if there wasn't that relationship building side of it. So that was pretty intentional. And then of course the open houses, if you just show up at an open house and hope somebody walks in and is unrepresented, that's never happened to me. I know some of our agents, it's like, oh wow, somebody just walked in and wanted to, I think it's Joanna. Joanna's like, this lady came in and was like, how do I buy it? I want it. That only happens to Joanna in my world. That never happens to me. But that comes from printing off open house flyers. And then, I do where you door knock the 5 on each side and the 10 across the street. So there's, 20 houses that I door knock and do a personal invite. And then the day of, I knock on their door and say, hey, just, in case there's any cars blocking the driveway or anything, here's my number. Give me a call and I'll handle it right then. We're expecting a big turnout. And then when we do get it under contract, I'll come back and let that it's under contract and where we're at. And I've on a few here in the last quarter, I've been very intentional about those. And the deal that I closed with the open house referral, it was actually from fourth quarter of last year, but they were, I nurtured them and stayed in touch with them. And then they ended up buying. So yeah, that I wish it was accidental, but it was not.
Well, that's good. I love the story about the lender because that was, yeah, you definitely did that. And I think, one of the things, like I decided a few years ago that I would focus my business on helping the senior and their family move. So I like to say, like, I'm not, of course, I'll help the first time home buyer, but I love helping the last time home seller. And so how do I so one of the things that I did, how do I get in front of more last time home sellers and their family? And one of the good relationships that I've been able to develop is with an elder law attorney who has sent me a couple last year easy button opportunities, which was great. So I feel like, yeah, not only did I meet that, I just not meet that elder law attorney at a group, I invited him for coffee, and then we had coffee. And then he invited me to his office to talk about what I did as a real estate agent. So I got to talk to everybody in there. And then I sent him a piece of business, right? And then at that point it was on, right? I feel like I'm his guy now. So, yeah, awesome. All right, Lonnie, what are you doing down there? You at home
Oh,
today?
I don't do a lot, Tom. I just kind of sit and twiddle my thumbs. Uh,
Yes.
that's just kind of what works best for me. A couple of things. First of all, I just wanted to highlight something you mentioned. Um, you know, the term I always thought of, or I can't remember who told me this term, but it was called the activity lag. And it was just simply the amount of time on task with activities that have to occur before you're likely going to see results. You mentioned Joanna and Kay Hudson, different people in their office. They'll do an open house and just walk away with basically a firm deal. It's crazy. Board duty can be 0 for 10, and then here comes a new agent on board duty. Their first one, they get a buyer out from it. So, but typically it's time on task over time. But unfortunately, what happens is somebody goes, hey, I'm going to do 2 or 3 open houses a month. I'm going to do it for 5 straight months, whatever their plan is. And they get a few months in and maybe they haven't seen the results. And then they hit that quit zone or the give up zone. They just simply say, well, this doesn't work. What else do I need to be doing? I'll do something different. Whereas probably the results were just on the other side of continuing down the path they were on. So there's a lag in almost everything that we do before we see results. And there's exceptions, but exceptions are the exception. So it's time on task. I joined the board of Country Club Bank 5-6 years ago, yeah, which was fantastic. I was the young guy, the new guy, all that. I thought joining that board, I was all that in a bag of chips, and these guys would be sending me deals. And you know what? It was well over a year. I had to kind of build my reputation in that with that esteemed group of people before I became the realtor guy. Somebody that they truly got to know. And then, yes, it was like, hey, can you help a friend of mine that's in having a problem and things like that. But if I analyzed the first year and a half on that board, I would have said, man, what a stinker. I didn't do it just for that, but nonetheless, I would have said, this is epic fail. As it turns out, it was very, very good and some great relationships that I have today. So I think we have to, with all these things, open houses, the focus group is the single best idea I've seen for Southland so far. The fact there's not 20 or 30 people doing that is a bit alarming, but nonetheless, any buy-in is a baby step in the right direction. I did the homework, Tom, because that's kind of what I do, and I grabbed just the last 6 deals, and 4 of them were from my sphere of influence. So the database, the triangle, 4 of the deals were out of that. And what was exciting about only one of those was somebody transacting business. So they were ready to sell their house, going through divorce, all that stuff. The other 3 were referrals from that database. And one of them, it was the first time they've ever referred me anything, which I really get excited at. I call those first time referrals. So immediately I want to reward that behavior, like almost kind of overdo it, for lack of a better term. I'm so grateful you would even think of me. I know you know a lot of people, blah, 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 blah. So gave him the whole thing, nice little gift, all these kind of things, because we want to reward that and get that behavior. So of the last 6 deals, 4 were right from the triangle. 1 was from a letter that I started. I just had this idea that I wanted to start this Cass County collective of investors, which just simply means I now have a list of 287 investors that own multifamily in Cass County. They get a quarterly letter from me as the foremost expert in that arena. Given the number of units that I own, I think I can probably speak as well as anybody in our industry in that. So I just simply introduced myself, and then now they're going to start getting data from me. Like we're getting ready to send out the one from the first quarter that's going to show multifamily closings. So just so they kind of put Branson and investor together. And so anyway, of the first letter that we sent out in the first quarter, I just got my first duplex listing, and now I'm interviewing, so to speak, for another one. So one of the 6 came from that, and the other was an internet lead. We started working with the gal that's helping us do some back office things for our internet exposure. And the people simply said, hey, I picked you up that way. And I don't hear that a lot. So there's an opportunity for us to spend more. We have to invest a little money in it. I don't understand the inner workings, and I don't want to, but I do understand when somebody calls me and says, hey, come list my $400,000 house. Yeah. So that's what we are. 4 of the 6 came directly from the triangle.
So those are relationships that you nurtured you stuck with, and you kept front of mind, and they eventually paid off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Two of the relationships, the referral relationships, were people that were well over 10 years in my database. So we've been together for a bit.
Yeah. No, and I've shared this before, at Carpet for Less, I was one of the number one flooring salespeople in the city, right? I won trips and all of this stuff from doing that. And I thought I was good. I thought I was the shit, so to speak, right? And then coming into real estate, I know all this and to do this, but it's different, right? Because at Carpet for Less, we had a reputation and that we had built over years, and people came in our door, right? And I didn't have to go find them, right? So it's a different kind of a gig. Now, once those people got in the door and I worked with them, I was able to make them lifelong clients and have have their kids, their parents, and their grandkids all do business with me, right? And which I'm able to do that in real estate, and I feel like I'm on the right path. But it's a little bit different gig, right? It's not an immediate payoff. No, it rarely does somebody come in the door during business hours and says, "Hey, I want to buy a house. I want to sell a house." So that was good to hear. All right, Brandy, Miss Team Leader, what do you got? What kind of input do you have on this one?
I was muted, so you couldn't hear me chewing my pretzels.
Yeah, I waited till you were eating to call on
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
I don't like to eat on camera, but I didn't get my breakfast this morning. Anyway, so yeah, my last deals on going along with what everybody said, one of them, well, most of them are referrals or people that have either past clients or people that have referred me to, past clients who've referred me. So I appreciate that. One of them was a board duty call. Now I can't sign up for board duty. But there was nobody signed up for board duty, and somebody walked in the door on a late Friday evening. And so I was here and was able to help, and we were able to help that gentleman buy a house. So board duty, if you're not doing that, do that. Can't guarantee you'll get leads all the time, but it does work. You may have to come sit up here for half a day and get some work done, but that's not bad either. So it's kind of a win-win. The focus group, I'm really getting a lot out of the focus group. And so I'm kind of doing that for all of us, but I'm also doing that for me. It gives me a time to lead generate for my business, but also lead generate for our office. And I get to call other agents. So basically, I think what it boils down to is real estate is a contact sport. We have to contact people. However we do that, we have to contact people, whether it's in person in these networking groups, whether it's on the phone, whether we're emailing, whether we're texting, we're Facebook messaging. We need to be contacting people, however that looks in your world. So that's really all I got, Tom. I know you didn't like what I said and you left the chat, but
No, I could still hear you. I could still hear you.
I just love giving you a hard time.
Yeah. No,
yeah,
yeah. No, good stuff. So, anybody else want to chime in? Any questions? Anybody newer to the field or to the group? Anybody? Trisha?
I like our new people because the new people that are new to the industry, they listen to what we say. They don't have any preconceived notions. It's great because you just point them down a path and they just kind of start doing it. They're lead generating, they're in the focus group, they're on these calls, they come to team meeting, especially if they're engaged at a high level. New people are fantastic. They just don't have any bad habits, in any way.
I love our new people too. I get to know them and work with them, and we've got some pretty fantastic new people. We got some pretty fantastic old people. We got all the people here.
Old people.
That's what I said. Be happy. If there's one thing to be grateful for is that you found us as a home. So
yes.
So
I will say that I feel like I'm now an old person in so many ways, but I've been in real estate, just finished 4 years, and I'm just now getting referral, and I get real excited about that because it's just now been in here long enough. So I'm pretty excited that I've grabbed some referral business this year. So that was new for me.
So, but Tricia, before you got that referral business, you had to get that client or somebody for the first time, right? So, and you've been very successful. So, would you like to maybe share what lead gen activities you do, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I looked at my people that you kind of said, who are you working with right now? And actually, mine has been huge off of open houses. I have a buyer and a seller who came through an open house that I was holding a month ago. And that's awesome. I'm also have somebody that's listed that when I was selling a house in their neighborhood 2 years ago, I door knocked the people in the neighborhood about the open house. And I've stayed in touch with them, and they just always kept saying, thumbs up to all my messages, nothing else. And then they text me 6 weeks ago saying, we're ready to sell our house. So they hadn't ever really responded to me. Just kind of like, thanks for your Christmas card kind of thing. But, and then they messaged me. So just knowing that they may not respond all along, but I was who they thought about when they're like, oh, remember the girl who keeps sending me things. So, for that, I'm grateful. One of mine right now that I'm working with is they're a buy and a sell, but my husband's company went and built their deck. And they were like, these are just things we want to do to get our home ready. And so he goes, oh, I have a realtor for you. Can she call you? And they let me. So that was referral from my husband from business. And one of my newer clients came through an open house, and I could tell they didn't like the house. So I was like, how else am I going to be able to get this guy talking? So I asked him what he did, and he was a roofer. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm always needing contacts, people to go. So I actually sent him to a house that I knew was going to need a new roof and my clients were interested in, and I let him put in a bid, and he goes, hey, you said you have lenders. Who can we connect with? So I think because I was able to immediately send him to a house to put in a bid, that he's like, oh, you will partner. You do want to be my partner in this. So I'm going to get him pre-approved and help them buy their first house.
Love that.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I just have to, I just have to be a little scrappy at times and kind of dig a little bit harder in creating relationships because, we don't have family here. We didn't go to high school here, those kind of things. So I have to figure out why they're going to use me. And sometimes that's challenging, but I just keep trying.
That's awesome.
And it's working.
It's working.
Well.
So.
Sometimes it feels better than others.
Yeah.
There was a book that was written, and it was called The Immigrant Edge. And it talked about how we see a lot of immigrants who come to this country with nothing and nobody and no family, and then all of a sudden they build these really big businesses, right? And the immigrant edges is they don't have any choice. They have to come here and do it, right? And I think sometimes we have the choice of, maybe if I look at my own life, I'm pretty comfortable in my life, and if I quit selling real estate tomorrow, I could be okay, right? But so I don't have that immigrant edge. I don't have that edge where I need to make the money. Like I don't have that thing. I don't have this big goal out here in front of me that says, "Oh, Tom, you need to make a lot of money to get there." And I think sometimes that works against me. But anyway, well, that was
Tom,
great.
that goes
Thank
back to the person with the highest skill set doesn't always win. It's the person
Yes.
with the most drive. We have
The most
examples
want.
of that. Yeah, we have examples of that in all of our businesses right now. But in the market center, it's some of the people succeeding. If I had to grade out their skill set and knowledge, scale 1 to 10, they might just be a 6 or a 7. Work in progress. But their drive and their just commitment to building a real estate business and a real estate life is a 10, and therefore it's just a matter of time. Absolutely, just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Can
And
I
the
share
willingness,
some-
the
sorry.
willingness to do the things that make us uncomfortable is a big one.
By all
Tom,
means.
can I share something from last night?
Yes.
So we were talking about leads. Last night I was finishing that fair housing class online, and it was probably 7:30, and my husband was down at Cleveland Lake fishing so I could have some quiet. So I'm not really presentable in my sweats at home, and he calls and he says, "I'm 5 minutes out. I have somebody for you to talk to." He's a young kid, first time home buyer, just moved here from out of state, and he wants to buy a house. I'm bringing him to you right now. So here it is, 7:30 at night. I run in, throw some makeup on, put some decent clothes on, and meet him out in the garage. And he comes in, and we have, a cup of coffee or whatever, and we talk about first time home buying, and he's going to meet with Todd.
Awesome.
That's so cool.
That's it. Get your family to buy into what you're doing. Get them all. Should be your first easy. Your spouse can be a lead generator for you, your brother, your sister, your kids, all of that, right? My daughter's a teacher at Belton High School. I get a call all the time. Usually the person doesn't have any money and can't buy the house, but hey, she's thinking about me. Hey, such and such is looking for a house. Your family, and how and I always love this is and Lonnie talked about this is like on being on the board of the bank, right? It takes a while for us to do we immediately trust somebody the first time that we meet him or sit in a meeting? It takes a little while. And I always go back to this is when I am considering doing business with somebody, they have a couple of things I need to know. And the first one is, do you know what you're doing? Right? I need to know that. And you need to instill that in me. And the second thing is, can I trust you? Right? So those are the things I need to that I feel like when I get on a board or I'm involved in an organization, and not only am I there to help that organization, though, I'm building that relationship of trust, letting people know that I do know what I'm doing. So yeah, that's great. So awesome, Lisa.
I love that he brought the guy home. I love that.
Yeah.
He didn't just say, "Hey, you got to talk to my wife." He's like, "Get in the truck, let's go. We're going to talk to my wife right now. Let's go." I love that.
That's exactly it. He said, "I'm
awesome.
bringing him home."
That is crazy. That's good stuff. So very good. How are you doing, Sandy?
Fine. How are you doing?
Good. Where did your last 5 deals come from? Or
Well,
last
they're
couple that you can think
interesting.
of? Huh?
So one of them's very interesting. It's actually a cousin. So it's a second cousin who the last time I've seen him was he didn't even know who I was. It was at his baby shower. And so then the next time I see him, he got married and then he wanted to buy a house, so he did. And then I had a partnered with someone in our office. I had too much going on, so I gave it to another agent and we just split it. And so she did it, and then he just called me back to sell that house and to purchase a new construction. So that's one of them. I hadn't seen him for years and years and years. So I didn't really know him, even though he's a cousin. And so then another one was a past client of like 10 years ago. This is the fourth deal with him. The next one is a past client. She gave me an investor that she's been friends with for all their life, and he wanted to sell a house, one of his investment properties. Another one was uh, you never think it's going to go this deep, but I had listed this lady's house, and then she was moving to Nebraska, and the house she was purchasing, the realtor of that house has a sister who lives in Overland, was moving here from Tennessee. Yeah, that's how that one was happening. So anyway, so I got that one as a referral from another realtor out in Nebraska. And so mine are just kind of like that. They're scattered all over the place. Another investor was a couple of them. And then another past client. Most of mine are from my database now. They should be. I've been in it too long for him not to be. Either that or I did a really shitty job the first time, or the third time or whatever.
That's awesome. So what I've heard through all of this is all of these started with conversations, right? And intentional conversations about real estate. And so I've checked off, like, yes, all the people talked about the sphere and past clients is where their business is coming from. Referrals is where they're coming from. Open houses has been a big one. Online leads. I haven't heard much about that. Lonnie said he had a little bit of an internet thing. So yeah, and that's all. So what we talk about on a daily basis at the market center, these are the things that work, and this is why we keep doing them. So, well, great. That was a good conversation. I appreciate everybody participating. So, hey, we're in the spring market now. So what's that looking like for everybody? I can tell you, I do have a first-time home buyer client. We've been looking in that low 200 range, which it's pretty tough. So I've been watching the low 200 range in Belton quite a bit. It feels like we're not getting into multiple offer situations on the first day, but if the house is in decent shape and in that low 200s, I feel like they're getting offers and getting off the market pretty quickly. An area that we've been looking at a lot is the South Kansas City area to find that a home in that price range, and what I like to call the 64137 zip code, which would be like Terrace Lake and St. Catharines Gardens and Birchwood Hills. Man, that's a pretty competitive market over there. St. Catharines Gardens in particular, those things are getting snapped up pretty quickly. Terrace Lake, maybe not so much. So I've been seeing that a little bit. Then I got a listing in Ruskin, and I feel like we're priced very competitively, and we've only had one showing. So I kind of went through the days on market in that area, and that would be kind of pretty typical. We don't have a whole lot flying off the shelf immediately in that area. And then from there, from the 200 and under category, I'm kind of seeing that. And then, of course, I have some, I don't want to say odd, but more unique type listings that, yeah, it feels like it might be a while, right? So, but anybody else want to have anything to say about what they're seeing in the market right now? Do we feel like we're full blown spring market, or I kind of feel like we have a little bit of a holdback, like it hasn't really started yet. And I'm kind of wondering what everybody else is seeing. So let's go. Let's speak up.
I'm feeling like it's okay. Like
Okay.
I don't feel any pullback right now. I'm getting the calls and doing the deals. And so, yeah, I feel like it's okay for what I'm looking for in my business. I'm doing okay.
Okay. So anybody working in the Lee Summit or Belton or Raymore area finding it very competitive or not? What are we feeling out there?
Lee
Yeah.
Summit's very competitive if it's a nice house, like
Yeah. It
350
always,
to
yeah.
400.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think the market as a whole is probably, about where it was last year at this time. Rates are a little higher than we expected them to be, but I think demand is still built up enough that we're grinding through these houses pretty good. I see very few houses on the market that, if presented properly and priced properly, aren't getting the traction from a standpoint of showings and selling within the timelines that they should. There's always that outlying exception, but for the most part, I mean, the hot sheet I'm addicted to, and I'll probably never get the following in our office that I want for that. But I'll see something come on in Canna Ridge at 3:30, and it's clean and it's updated, and the roof's 4 years old, the HVAC is 4 years old, and I'll just kind of look at it. And today's day one on the market, and I'll think, I bet by Monday that's pending or in show for backups. And sure enough, in 2 days, there it goes, show for backups. So I kind of like to follow the houses as they arrive. I kind of watch them go through the system. So you get a really good indication of what the market's doing outside of just your own business.
good. Hey, is anybody not using a hot sheet? You don't have to raise your hand if you're not, but if you are, and let me tell you what I feel like the hot sheet is one of the best ways for me to gain expertise in an area. So especially like if I have, like I remember the first time I had somebody that wanted to look at houses in Independence, and yeah, I know Independence landmarks, I know some things about it, but do I really know the area? Well, then when you put in Independence as a hot sheet and you start getting those notifications, just like Lonnie said, you start noticing patterns, right? So it's very not only is it very useful for us to be the first on a hot property, but it's very educational because especially on my hot sheet, I'm tracking active, pending, show for backup, coming soon, and sold. Right, so I can see the turnover on and how quick things are going. It's a vital part of my business is the hot sheet. Um, so if you don't have a hot sheet, get one. If you don't know how to do it, lean into somebody, and it's a pretty good tool. So,
I was going to say kind of the same thing that Sandy did. I've listing wise, trying to think, I don't really have any listings coming up in Belton or Raymore. Have one on the market in Lenexa at Falcon Lakes. Debbie's got that one on the market, and we didn't really have a whole lot of traction at first. It's been on the market for about 30 days, and now that's in the 600s. But this last week, we had a ton of traffic at the open house last weekend, and we're talking to a couple of people on offers on it. And then we've got a listing that goes live today at like Gregory and what is that? Probably Warnell. And we've got like 7 showings today, and there's like 6 for tomorrow. And so I'm doing an open house there today from 5 to 7. And then I mean, I can't, that thing's going crazy. And that's at a 550 price range. But then on the buy side, I've got several buyers right now that are looking and like they're open to Lee Summit, Grandview, Belton, Raymore, Greenwood. But our price range is in that like 3 to 350 range. And all of the like every single thing we've looked at has been multiple offers, every single one of those, and they've gone relatively quickly. So I definitely think the spring market is cranking right now, especially in our average price range to maybe slightly below average. Those are crazy. Like we've had to, some of the ones that we've lost out on, I'm like, you're kidding me. Like people waiving appraisals and waiving inspections. And I lost out on one that was they waived appraisal and inspection and on a 360 house. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, well, that's good to know that that's where it looks like we're at again. And on that particular one, my clients are first time home buyers. So I'm like, man, of course I'm not going to recommend doing that. And they're not in a position to be able to waive appraisal anyway. So, but that's a bummer when those are the offers you're competing against. So, yeah, definitely South Lee Summit, Greenwood, Raymore in that 3 to 4 range. It has been highly competitive the last couple of weekends.
that's awesome. That's good to hear. I haven't been working in that range, so that's interesting and good to hear. So, and I feel like that it's just waiting to break loose, right? That interest rate tick down or whatever. And then now I feel like now we're back into, especially when we're working with buyers, I guess there's a skill set when working with sellers in this too, where we do get into those multiple offer opportunities. And now we got to start breaking out all those tools that we used in 21 and 22, right? So I would, you know what? That reminds me of a conversation. Okay. In its present condition, box 1. It's useless. I mean, to me, as it works, I find that it sometimes works against you. So, and I had somebody the other day ask me on a property, hey, if we do it in its present condition, box 1, will that help? And it's like, no, not really. I mean, I just feel like when we get in that situation, especially, and I'll say from the seller side, you take the offer and it has the box one. I almost feel like it basically says we can walk away, right? So it almost sometimes eliminates the negotiation.
Tom,
Or yeah,
I had that issue with my sellers last weekend. I had a house that was listed for 265 on 435 in Warnell, like Tim was talking about. And we had 20 showings. We had 4 offers, and 3 of them had escalation clauses, and 2 of them were box one. And my sellers did not want the box one, and they renegotiated with the top escalation clause for them to not do a box one and remove it, because they wanted the ability to negotiate if the seller or if the buyer found something. They didn't want them just to walk away. They wanted to be able to negotiate with them.
like that. I'd like to hear from some of you more seasoned people.
Hey,
LB,
You still,
hey,
DJ,
Tom.
TK.
We've got Makaya and I are teaming up on a property out in DeSoto, and our seller has a ton of equity in the house, but it's super dated and has some disrepair, and he doesn't have a lot of cash on hand. So he was like, I'm pretty much just going to be selling it as is. And he was looking for an in its present condition addendum. And the offer that we ended up going with, they were a box one. And the agent is a KW agent that she's highly seasoned and she does a great job. And I've worked with her before. She said, hey, we're like, I know it's box one, but if there's something, if there's something that we can do to keep it together, we of course want to give you like, we really want to keep it together. So bottom line, the house needs a new roof on it. I mean, and we knew the roof was that it was rough, but they can't get it insured because the roof is so rough. So she said, hey, instead of just canceling, we just want to know, is there an opportunity? Will the seller consider a new roof if we can get it paid for out of proceeds or something like that? Our seller ended up choosing to go that route simply because he didn't have to come out of pocket up front. But I'm with you, Tom. I kind of feel like in a lot of instances, I'm like, box one, big whoop, like that doesn't do anything for me. It just, I mean, because so far when I represent the seller, anytime an issue comes up, they ask for it anyway. Like they ask for it anyway. So it didn't really do anything up front. And I kind of like Lonnie, has thrown out there. If we get an offer that's like way above asking price, like, hey, we're kind of on borrowed dollars here because it's probably not going to appraise that high. So just don't get your heart set on this number because we're liable to have an appraisal issue. When we get a box one, I'm like, hey, don't get too excited about it because they're probably going to ask for some stuff anyway if there's a possibility for us to keep it together. And more times than not, that's what happens with me when I get a box one. And then if my buyers, I haven't really seen a situation where from the buy side, it has benefited us to do a box one. Maybe somebody else has had that. I just haven't.
I kind of like what some of our agents do, which is when they write in the additional terms, like we won't ask for any repairs under $2,000 or something like that. I kind of like that maybe a little bit better.
I do like that too.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's a good strategy. That I like seeing that from the seller side too. I'm like, ooh, okay, good work.
Yeah.
Well, Nathan and I have talked about this before. Really, if box one is saying all or nothing, it simply says that we're going to take this thing as is, or we're canceling. There's going to be now we've kind of set a precedence now, but before I cancel, if you guys would do this and this, we'll hang in there. So was it ever really box one? No. I mean, it's kind of I don't know, the way it's evolved into just something completely different. I would rather just have a straight up limitation on what they can consider unacceptable conditions, 1,000, 2,000, whatever that is. I'd rather have that verbiage in there.
Great. Well, good.
I think communication, or am I unmuted?
Yeah, we hear you.
Nope, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
The communication piece is huge. Yeah, I like to say it's like you're dating, talking to the agent, having phone calls rather than text messages, and trying to keep it together. Up front, if the roof is like 15 years old, I'm asking my buyer's permission. Hey, do you care if I go and have this conversation right now? Because if you're not in the position, if we're going in as is and you're not in the position to put on a new roof, it's likely going to have to happen most of the time right now because of insurance. And so I'm like, let's go ahead and have that conversation up front. And if they're not willing to do that, then do we gamble it or do we move on, Um, and seeing how we can keep it together. I like what Brandy said too. I'll do that too, is putting a price on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great tactic. It's extremely successful. I think most agents have been doing this a while. We'll prefer that over box one all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, my last few box ones, the only thing it has done is has made me create an amendment to remove the box one or to remove the in presence condition. That's the last like 3 times I've used it, I've had to remove it because we've negotiated to keep the deal together.
What's
So I
weird,
just
Tom, yeah, what's weird there, and this is, I think Mandy just said something about communication. In our industry, we're all wanting to text each other back and forth, and text and email leave all kinds of gray areas, right? Things just don't get conveyed properly. But it's not uncommon that we get into negotiations or we find a house we want to pursue, and it just so happens the listing agent is of the opinion box one is a big deal and is great for her seller. So
Right.
you have to kind of listen to the what they have to say in their body language, so to speak, because again, especially each brokerage and they train differently. They think box one is all that in a bag of chips, and if that's the case, then that you may look at it a little bit differently. So feel out the people that are on the other side. I think that's going to serve us all well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, talking directly with that agent, I feel like I got a lot better shot if I'm having a conversation over the phone than I am through text message. So for sure, I'm able to do that. So
I totally agree with that. I had a frustration I'll share with you. Just thought I mean, it was wild. It was super crazy. I've got a buyer under contract with an agent who I was actually excited to see that they were the listing agent. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Like, I've never worked with him. I don't really know him, but I hear his name a lot. He's in our ecosphere. Like, I pumped. I thought it was like, we're going to put a great deal together. And I called him nothing. Trying to find out like how to, what kind of strategy what kind of offer do we want to write on this thing? The house is in Blue Springs. It was at the like 300 price point. I'm like, how can we do to put this together? And then he finally texted me and he was like, hey, I'm tied up. Can you just text me? So here we are. We closed the first week in May. We're through everything: inspections, resolution, appraisal. I've yet to talk to him on the phone. Every time I call him, it's an immediate text that says, hey, I'm tied up. Can you text me? I've not once talked to him and never would call me back. And I bet I've tried to call him at least a dozen times. And I just keep getting a text that says, hey, can you just text? So we've literally done the whole transaction via text. I haven't talked to him once. And it was wildly frustrating because my people, we've missed out on a couple of offers. Like, they were the ones that the competitive bid went, they waived appraisals and inspections. So I'm like, man, I'm really trying to put something together with this guy. I'm like, how is this guy this great of an agent? Like, he does a lot of business, and I've yet to have a conversation with him. On my end of it, it was incredibly frustrating. And I also understand and realize, like, I had to take a real hard look in the mirror because sometimes I'm not the greatest communicator and my availability isn't the greatest. And I'm like, man, if I could do anything better this year, it's to be wildly more available communication wise, because I was incredibly frustrated. So I took a hard look at my own phone skills in that, because I don't want to be that frustrating to another agent.
That is
that's cool.
very frustrating. I just had a
Yeah.
deal like that.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
great. We can
so
always, yeah.
I have one currently that I keep calling the agent trying to problem solve something. I've left a couple of messages, so I sent a text, and 2 hours later, he just responded of, I got your text and you sound a little bit demanding. And I'm like, maybe, but if you would have a phone call, you would actually be able to problem solve and work through this, but I finally just had to give you like my bullet list because I've tried to call you 3 times. So I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I might sound a little
Hmm.
demanding, but if you would, I said in my text, I'm really trying to create a win-win. I just don't know what that looks like for you because I can't get in touch with you.
Love it.
So
Wow.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of that going on right now. I think some of the agents are working full time.
well,
That's what I
bless
think
your
is
heart.
happening.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's not going to work out well for them. And they get very frustrated very easy. We're not their big money thing. Their big money is their stability in their little job. So they don't take it serious. And it's horrible for clients,
It is
theirs and
horrible for the
ours.
client. Good.
Mhm.
Well, just to add, he put in his text, I used to be a Keller Williams agent. I know how you work.
Oh my.
Oh my
I'm like,
goodness.
great, then you understand why I'm trying to call you.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Knucklehead.
Now we know why
Um,
he's not with Keller Williams anymore.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
he's not the
Yeah.
right fit.
Something to think about too. There are a lot of dual career people out there. You know, we give out a dual career award in our office because we know how important that is. We have dual career people making more in their real estate part time than they are in their full time gig, which is
Yeah.
cool. But our really successful dual career people, I would say they respond and their deals are as smooth as our people that are full time doing this. You know,
Mhm.
Teresa Stocking, Manakia Bland, I don't want to, Julie Phillips. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of people, but their deals go through just as smooth as somebody who's there in the office full time.
Yeah.
They're business people. They know how to communicate. They carve out the necessary time to attend to this business in addition to their busy life.
Mhm.
So it can be done. So this fact that, hell, this guy has a full-time job at wherever, bull poo. That's not going to fly with me. And
Right.
if you can't figure out how to carve out the time, what the hell are you doing in this thing? It's a people
Yeah.
business. There's no real estate emergencies, but there sometimes is a slight sense of urgency that we need to communicate. And it ain't a text that I'll call you back after 6 or some crap like that.
I was going to say the same thing, Lonnie. I mean, I already had a high level of respect for Makaya's business, but teaming
Mhm.
up with her on this DeSoto house, I mean, anytime our client has a question or anything, I mean, she's all over it. Like, and I know she's busy at her job, and like, it can be done. I'm sure it's really hard. I'm sure Makaya, if she was able to jump in, would be like, oh, I mean, it's constant, it's all the time, but. She does it she communicates better than most agents I've ever co-opted with. So it
Mhm.
100% can be done.
Yeah. That's because she's with our market center. I mean,
Yes,
just a
I
no-brainer.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Agree.
Teresa
There's a big
Stocking's that
difference.
way, and Julie, and just so many other people. Jen Thompson's doing a great job juggling 3 jobs, right? So it's a matter of focusing and taking it serious. We're handling people's biggest assets in their life in most cases. It deserves our attention. So
Mhm.
I'm pretty pissed about that lack of service that some of you guys are reporting. That bums me out.
It's funny that you
Yeah.
mentioned Teresa because I was teaching a class in the market center I don't know, it's been a few weeks ago. It was the day of Teresa's birthday, and I was doing an example of what it looks like to make a birthday call. And because one of the rebuttals, is like, I don't want to call my people during the day because they're at work, or, I don't want to interrupt their work schedule. I feel like I'm bothering. I'm like, here, let's call. I know Teresa's super busy. I'm like, if she doesn't want to answer, we'll get her voicemail and I'll leave her a voicemail. And sure enough, man, it was like 10:14 a.m. Teresa's at work at, central office. And I called her to wish her happy birthday and she answered the phone. So she's a perfect example. Like in her day job, Teresa's super busy and she's dealing with the superintendent of schools all day long. And she answers her phone. So I don't know what other agents are doing, why they can't answer their phone. But if Teresa can answer her phone, I feel like anybody can.
Awesome. Well, great call today, guys. I think we might have more
Hey,
weather coming in.
Tom, can
Yeah.
I lob one more thing out there real quick?
Let's lob it. Yeah.
Okay, this just came up, and I thought it was timely, and I'm like, gosh, we got a great turnout today. If you guys are talking to people that haven't lived in their house a long time, and like, for example, I had a meeting yesterday just to preview a deal, and they've owned the house about 3 years. And so I looked at the house. I kind of knew what it was worth. It's, you know, a 350 house, no doubt about it. Well, they were kind of thinking it would be worth a lot more. But what they didn't realize is they bought it in 2022. And when they bought it, they bid 26,000 above list. And so technically, even though an appraiser made it work, I'd explained to them that, guys, in all honesty, you paid well above the market. We were just making deals work at that time. So your normal appreciation that you might have seen, let's just say 3 years ago, houses went up 15 to 18%. Theirs really won't reflect that because honestly, they probably paid 5 to 8% above market when they bought it. So look back at that data of when they acquired it. It can tell an interesting story. And this one told the story perfectly. And she goes, yeah, it was listed at 275. We had to go 26,000 above Amwave inspections to get it. So, you know, just know it's just like driving a new car off the lot to some extent if people bought during that peak time. So just understand, just, you know, it's not always going to hold true, but it sure can in many cases.
Good
So,
information, LB. All right, guys. Have a great Thursday.
Thanks,
Great
Tom.
call,
Great
Tom.
job.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tom.